Day 3 of the majors here in Festhalle Frankfurt, and I have the big honor of having PPD right here with me straight after his 2-0 victory over CDEC. Peter, thanks so much for being here, man. You just took out CDEC 2-0. You feeling good?
Yeah, we're feeling really good. It was kind of a big test going up against them compared to what we were at CI5. So it was nice we beat them at MLG as well, but that was much closer. And we were still kind of a mess as a team, and I think they were trying to find their play style as well. But things are really coming together at this tournament, which is a great time to peak.
Yeah. Awesome, man. So could you elaborate a bit more on what aspects you figured were the most important in terms of this test? What were the question marks in your mind before going into this match?
Before going into this match, we were a little worried about them playing Doombringer. And we had the same issue against Vega as well. Like, we didn't think they would pick Doom, but at the same time, when they did pick Doom, we didn't really have the best answer for it. And that was kind of what our concern was going in against CDEC, because we didn't think they prioritized Doom very much, but we also didn't want to be totally in trouble just in case they did pick Doom. He's like a super strong hero in the meta, and you just have to have an answer for him. And if you don't, it gets really tough. And we were fortunate they gave us Doom both games. They're too afraid of like the Bane or the Shadow Fiend in game 1. So we got to use Doom, and it worked.
So one thing that was very interesting to see in game 1 was the way that Winter Wyvern kind of fit into your lineup. Would you consider that pick being your the connecting piece, or can you explain a bit the philosophy behind your draft in game 1?
Sure, I don't want to give away too much, but Winter Wyvern's just ever since he got introduced to Captain Mode, he's been an extremely strong hero. He has everything you want out of a support. He's got good lane push, good deep push, lockdown through BKB, and he's pretty good. His Q is very good in the early laning phase. You can kind of send him into any lane. He can kind of camp mid, help out your mid player. He can go in aggressive tri lane. He can go dual lane safe lane, tri lane safe lane. So just a really versatile and open pick. Also being able to kind of like fly over cliffs or fly over like Tusk Ice Shards or Clockworks Cogs. That's something that most supports don't have, and that's what makes him pretty top tier, I think.
Yeah, we saw you utilize that very well, especially at the uphill siege. You could go across the cliff and start zoning and give Arteezy some space. That was very nice to see, that application. How would you, because I would imagine that when you go into the first match against CDEC, being such a strong early game team, that you would kind of put an extra emphasis on that early laning stage. How did you feel about how the first couple of minutes of game 1 went?
Trying to remember, that was a game where we had...
You had Bane, Doom, Timber, Tiny, Winter Wyvern.
Yeah, we've actually had relatively good early games for most of our matches, even in like our scrims and all of our matches here at Frankfurt. Most early games we've actually won. It's more of like going into the mid game and the late game where we kind of falter and make a couple of poor decisions, which oftentimes we are kind of drafting for the laning phase. Other teams are drafting more team fight and more late game, and that's where we find ourselves in trouble, is when we make those kind of mistakes. So we're just trying to kind of like develop our play and make it crisp and clean and make less mistakes, obviously.
And game 2, that was a little bit more back and forth. I had that impression. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, I think after the drafts we were super confident, but we didn't really handle their early pressure very well. Shiki, they ended up they picked his Lina in the first phase, which is something we banned in the second phase of the first game. And Shiki's, I think his hero pool is pretty limited, and he really excels on Lina and Queen of Pain. And we didn't ban Lina first time, so we just banned Quap and then Gyrocopter. And that kind of makes them play a different play style. You saw in game 1, he ended up going Dragonite, even though it wasn't a very good Dragonite game. In game 2, they just first 2'd his Lina, and that allowed him to have a much better laning phase, and so he had a much higher impact. And they just kind of ran us over early game with like the Tusk and the Bounty and the Lina with an early Yules, and then Lifestealer just going like phase drums, Armlet. So he was pretty strong, but we knew once we got our items up, like we'd really need our BKB on Shadow Fiend. We were much more capable of fighting.
So toward the end of game 2, there was a phase where things kind of toned down. I don't know if you were really avoiding them, but CDEC was putting a lot of emphasis on getting very aggressive wards out. You guys were moving together a lot, avoiding the conflict, and then you caught CDEC out in mid with Clockwork, and that was kind of where it all came together for you guys. Can you explain a bit how you were orchestrating the game at that point? What was was there anything in particular that comes to mind when you think of that phase of the game?
Sure. So at that point, the Lena just got her Black King bar. She skipped Aghanim. She had Yules, Brown Boots, and a point booster, and then she went BKB. So she could definitely fight us early game and not have to worry about Shadow Fiend raises or Shadow Fiend all. Universe made a really good play, and he said, hey, I have an opportunity to make a play here. And we weren't totally opposed to fighting, but we just needed to fight in the right way. And starting on Lena is super good. She was able to BKB and hit the cogs and kind of run away, but I was close enough to swap her back into the fight. And so she didn't get too many spells off. And if the Lena doesn't get that many spells off, their fight is a lot weaker without that burst. Yeah, we had a pretty good lineup to go through BKB, like Shadow Fiend right-click super hard, and Venge Auras kind of help out a lot in terms of right-click. So even though she ran away, she got swapped back in, a couple more right-clicks, and she was dead.
How is your impression of C-Deck as opposed to TI5?
I think that they are a much more refined team. There's less questions about them. At TI5, they had a very predictable play style. They picked the same heroes, and they're still kind of doing that. That being said, I think that you saw in their pregame video that Valve made, they talked about how they came back to the new patch and they've been practicing different strategies and different heroes. I still think they're playing pretty similar, but obviously it's good enough to win.
So you're now in the top 3 guaranteed. You're up in the winners bracket final, upper bracket final. And we're now going to wait and see who you're going to meet. It's going to be either Vici or Team Secret. Vici Gaming made it as far as Team Secret right now. Can you talk a bit about both those teams? What's your impression of them so far in this tournament?
Sure. So far in this tournament, both teams have been playing really well. Vici kind of had a shaky group stage, I think. They were pretty close in some of their matches, as were we. They looked really good in their matchup against, who was it? Who did they play in the quarterfinals? I think it was. Did they play? No, Secret played Mineski, and they played against LGD. Yeah, they looked really good against LGD. They kind of pretty much crushed them. No, C-Deck played LGD. Sorry, I totally forgot. Either way, they looked really good in their quarterfinal match. I was really impressed, and I think them and C-Deck are definitely the 2 best Chinese teams. That's been proven. In terms of going up against Secret, I think that I think Secret is probably the favorite, maybe the favorite for this tournament, winning both Nanyang and MLG and then getting second place at ESL. They had a really good post TI5 kind of get up into this tournament. So I think that Secret's probably the favorites, but if there's a team that's going to beat them, that's definitely Vici.
All right, so closing up slowly, could you talk a bit about your inner team dynamics at this point? We have, with Fear switching positions and such, now we have, of course, a big tournament where everything just has to work. Are you satisfied so far?
Yeah, I'm definitely satisfied with our development. We've been practicing and kind of thinking about how we want to play the game rather than how everyone else is playing the game. And it's working out so far. Fear has been awesome at adapting to his new role, learning the heroes he needs to learn in order for us to win. He's been playing a lot of Bane. He doesn't like playing Bane, but he does it to win. So, all of us just want to win. And Artur and Sumel are 2 amazing players, and Fear is just as amazing. So putting him in a 4 position, which he hasn't played in quite a while, but he's coming along really well.
All right. Dude, I'm very thankful for you taking the time. You just got off the stage, so thanks so much for taking the time, and wish you a lot of success moving on. Just as a very last question, who do you think you're going to meet in the finals if you had to take a pick?
Grand finals or winner bracket finals?
Grand finals.
It's tough. I think maybe C-Deck again. I think that they have what it takes to beat Secret and Vici, just depending on the day. I hope they didn't get too frustrated with today. They're great opponents, a great team, and I think that it's pretty likely that we'll see them in the finals again.
All right, and of course, I want to give you an opportunity to give some shout-outs, say thank yous, anything.
Shout out to friends and family at home watching. I know my two buddies, Kodiak and Matt, are watching the games. It's super late in the U.S. right now. Or wait, no, it's getting. They're starting to wake up. Yeah, they're starting to wake up. Yeah, so shout out to friends and family, and I guess everyone who's just watching and cheering us on.
Well, that was team captain PPD from EG coming off their win from CDEC. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more interviews. Bye bye.